Who are art, that's their passion. That's what they're going to do. There's a purpose for them. They're going to achieve that. But with a good teacher, they'll even be better. And a lot of times they don't even know they're good at music or art. And let's even include PE if you know, because that's a related art too. You know, that's where they should be. That's where they're good. That's where they can help others become the best they can be. But the other way of art, and I'm not going to include PE as much as I'm going to include the visual arts and of course music. You can teach reading and math and sculpture, architecture, all those things with music as well, and with the visual arts. Sometimes those kids, when they get it with that one other discipline, that art or that music, they get it because that's how they relate. They can learn through that capacity.
Why do you think that art is the area that's being targeted more than others as far as cutting it from schools?
I'm wondering if it's not art and music.
Well, yeah, I just mean art in general, like the arts, the specials classes.
Right. Because I'm gonna talk about the state of Indiana and the state of Illinois because that's what I'm used to. It's the I-STEP. And the I-STEP test, I'm going to speak for the kids because I teach 600 kids a week, actually more. And I have 25 minutes 2 times a week, so 50 minutes.
25 minutes?
50 minutes in an entire week to teach these kids concepts in music.
Is text and then later test-based assessments that doesn't teach critical thinking skills. You don't have to adapt. You just have to know how to answer.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make understanding. That just provides access to information, but not the maturity to know what to do with it. And I mean maturity based on the familiarity with the parts and how they go together.
What do you feel about schools as far as them cutting their art programs or cutting funds for art programs?
Having come from a district and seen that happen firsthand, the school that I went to, I attended school, my parents taught in the same school district, and then I went back years later as a substitute teacher in that district and seeing the cuts that had happened within probably about 5 years since I graduated, and it was horrendous. I mean, seeing them take a department that was already somewhat marginalized and just cut it to the point where when I was a student we had 1 faculty member teaching art in high school. When I left, when I came back, he was split between 3 schools.
Oh, wow.
1 faculty member for 3 schools teaching art. And seeing the effects that had, it was really horrible. You know, I think it wasn't a strong program to begin with. And in some cases, I think the instructor was the problem. He was not somebody who inspired a lot of interest in students. At the time, it was really good for me because he was somebody who he gave me material, he gave me tools, and he gave me space. And in high school, that was what I really needed. I didn't need somebody giving me assignments, breathing down my neck about what to be making. I was very self-guided. But most students aren't like that. They need somebody to really inspire. So I think the problem in elementary and secondary education is obviously you need a lot of funding. Art departments are expensive. But you also need good people who are going to be running those departments. And money, again, is going to be part of that, is recruiting strong candidates and being able to compensate them in the way that they should be.
I feel that art is the subject being targeted for all these cuts as opposed to English or math or the typical core subjects that
because it's much more easy to justify, and it reaches a smaller group of people. You look at something like the football team, which never gets touched. It's something that becomes a source of pride for the school. It becomes a recruitment tool. Whereas art, it's not a great recruitment tool. It's certainly not going to bring in a lot of money. And increasingly we're seeing it at all levels, whether it's elementary, secondary, tertiary, college level. It's all about money. And it's all about what kind of money is your department bringing in? What are you bringing to the school? And art, it's a lot more difficult to justify that. You're working with a lot of students who, again, are going to be more at-risk students, or students who don't have that sort of wellspring of resources that other students may have. If you're on the football team, a lot of people are going to be, that's going to attract them. I think there tends to be more wealthy students associated with certain activities. A lot of high school sports are going to be wealthier students who are going to have more clout. Sports are expensive, art's expensive. Sports parents have more money, so they're going to be giving more money to the school.
And how does that make you feel about the fact that so many art classes are being cut, or their funds are being cut from schools right now? Like, what kind of effect do you think?
I think it's going to continue to make people have less meaningful experiences in their lived life. What do I mean? There's a long time in my early career after college, before I got my master's, where I was working in community art centers. I have so many professionals or people that worked their job, blue collar or white collar job, whatever it was, but they didn't actually have any way to affect change in their life that they could own in a meaningful way. So they took an art class as a way to as a thing for themselves. When we take away people's experience of being able to do for themselves in the world, you just have more and more unhappy, dissatisfied people that don't even know why or what's bothering them. They don't have the familiarity or skill sets to even grasp that something's dissettling.
They just never had the experience in the first place.
They don't even know. So, I didn't grow up with music because music wasn't important to my family. When I went to Germany again, I was in a totally different school system, and I started to learn how to play the guitar. I loved it. I could understand reading music, which is what I'd practiced, and I'd practiced recorder in the United States as a little kid. But it wasn't until I could actually hear the notes and start to bend them and play with them, meaning I got away from what was easily accessible and got into more qualitative analysis for the teacher's part. That's when things really got much more rich. It's not so much that students that have learning disabilities or challenges understanding things, so they don't have enough to work with or to be engaged by. But mainstreaming, as we talk about it, or it gets talked about, winds up flattening things down so much that the mechanism that's streaming them has the easier thing. But eventually, if no one can take care of no one can become a teacher or make the work or go get a job and solve problems, it doesn't matter. It'll just crush itself. So yeah, get rid of art and you'll get rid of your grandchildren's future, I guess.
We can't dumb ourselves down. I'm not saying dumbing yourself down is going to be reading or math. It's absolutely imperative that these kids can read and that they can do math. But they can also give back to society by being a musician or an artist. I mean, that's what's come down through the ages, is the art and the music. And that's what's something that we can give back to too. So what I would say is that you need to make sure that you're accountable for your discipline. Accountable to music, or accountable to art, or accountable to PE. Not accountable. Encourage reading, encourage math within your discipline, but be accountable for music. So these kids come out with some understanding of it.